Welcome to the Manifestation and Money podcast, Debbie.
Hey, I'm so excited. My two favorite words, manifestation and money.
I know we're going to have an amazing conversation here, especially because you're a girl that has a book called Your Inner Billionaire. So introduce yourself to the guests and just share who you are and what your story is.
Oh my goodness, I'm going to take up the whole 20 minutes. So I'm Debbie Dobbins, and I wrote a book called Your Inner Billionaire because it's based on the history of my life being an abundance teacher, but having some really amazing roadblocks along the way. Dragons on your hero's journey, as I often call it. I've had a drug addiction, and I've had an IRS lien that was $500,000, and I've been diagnosed with cancer and thrived through that. And through it all, it's always been about the abundance because abundance is an internal process. And as I said, I love the idea of manifestation and money because I've been teaching manifestation, the law of attraction, for that many years as well. And I always tell everybody, you don't just manifest something, you're manifesting every single day. The question is, do you want to direct that manifestation to see in your reality what you want to see? So I love talking about those topics because they're so important.
Yeah, I love how you said that to direct your intention of what you want. Because, yeah, it's so true. We're manifesting every second. We manifested this chat together. I have
Oh,
lots of people that apply to the show, and I'm like, that's not the person that I am trying to attract to talk to. So
mhm,
we
mhm.
connected because we are two girls that want to talk about the same things. I love how you said that to
Absolutely.
direct our
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
How did you
So,
connect with going through all that stuff that you went through?
I really believe that my life, I believe everybody's life is they've come in with a process that they are living through. Somebody might want to come in and practice patience, or somebody might want to come in and practice abundance. We all come in with an intention. And how it shows up and unfolds in our lives, I find very interesting. When I was going through those areas or those times, I didn't really say, oh, I volunteer to be a drug addict or I volunteer to have these massive liens. And they may have actually looked uncomfortable as I went through them. And yet they were the fodder, which I knew at some point it was going to unfold, that would allow other people to see that they can do that too. So I've had the health and I've had the wealth and I've had the what I believe everybody in the world is addicted, because we're all addicted to something. Addiction is just taking yourself out and numbing yourself from being in your reality and your presence. I just got those opportunities, and that's what I look at them as, to go through those experiences. I believe to share that with other people, that there are no excuses. Wayne Dyer wrote a book called Excuses Be Gone. I love that because that's what I teach is let your excuses go. They're just stories. They keep us from having the beauty in the life that we desire. And my what I've learned through all of those processes also is about a mind shift is not what drives us to get what we say we desire. It's a frequency. So this is where my last episode with being diagnosed with cancer and going through all of was the learning that I got was the feminine energy, which is the understanding of frequency within the body, is what we actually manifest with, that gives us the output or the outpicturing of what we desire. If we desire something and we're not getting it, all we have to do is look at our life and then say, oh, what am I believing? What am I feeling? What am I expressing as an energy that's creating that? So then I can change it from my body and not my mind. This mind is a little AI machine up here. And this is why I love AI so much, is because it's an example of what this is. The body trains the AI, which is our mind, that just follows the program. We train it so we can untrain it or train it differently or write a new story. That's what my last 10 years has been really evolved into, is understanding that it's our frequency from our body that's generating everything that we see in our life.
And that's an empowering lesson to learn that you can train it. So often we think we've been dealt these cards and we just have to keep believing the story that has brought us here. But if we can train ourselves, how does somebody go from this lack place and train their frequency to adjust to abundance?
That's really the foundation, and that's the question that I get the most often is, if I'm broke, how do I get out of that belief structure? Because it is just a story that we've told ourselves. And over these many years, I've studied neuro linguistic programming and neuroscience and body and somatic activities. because it's all connected to one another. The very first place that we start, and this is why I have 2 chapters in the book on gratitude. And people, as soon as they hear the word gratitude, I can hear them clicking off right as I'm speaking because people have put the gratitude component in this box of, well, sure, I've heard that a million times, write a gratitude list. And that's not the gratitude I'm talking about. I say it's gratitude on the go. One chapter is about the science of gratitude in the book, and the other one is on the spirituality because they're both the same. But I talk about it from the perspective that gratitude is the gateway to everything. I was broke and on food stamps when I was diagnosed with cancer. I had no money. I mean, it was just the money just showed out of the ethers when that happened. However, it brought me to a place on my knees of being broke and on food stamps. And so I don't have this empathy, but not empathy, but a sorriness for people that are broke because I've been there. I mean, it wasn't the first time, but this time it was pretty devastating. And it's when you get into gratitude about where you are in that moment that you begin to see the light. Because if we can't be grateful for where we are, as I had a abundance teacher years ago, Edwene Gaines, she says, if you can't give from where you are, no matter what it is, how do you expect God, universe, to say, we're going to give you a whole bunch more money so that you can't give that away? Because we have to start where we are. Giving and gratitude are the very first components. No matter how broke you are, you can give $1, you can give a penny, you can give something. So it's giving them from the circulation. But second of all, it's the gratitude. And when I talk about gratitude on the go, it's living in gratitude. It isn't in the morning writing a gratitude list of 10 things. I'm grateful that I have a wine glass to put my water in because anything tastes better in a wine glass. I'm grateful for the speaker, the microphone that I can speak to you. I was thinking about this the other night. Every time I leave my kitchen, when I first moved into my house, there was only one light switch for the whole kitchen, and it would drove me crazy. I had the electrician come in after a very long time, and every time I push the button, I say a prayer of gratitude because it makes my life easier. We don't realize how easy our lives are, even when we're broke. We live in a very comfortable place, especially if we're in the northern hemispheres of civilized world. And so it's so important to really be in gratitude all the time. It isn't okay, I'll be grateful when something happens. I'm grateful now for every single thing and experience in my life. And when I start taking it for granted, then I start seeing results that replicate that or mirror that back to me. Those are really the places that we begin when I start working with people. Then I do timeline therapy and neuro-linguistic, all kinds of hypnosis. There's fun things to do to rewire the AI, but we have to begin with the feeling of gratitude. That is the simplest thing anybody can do starting right now.
Yeah, and that I can imagine would be a trickier starting point if you were at rock bottom. But is it or isn't it? Because then maybe it's more obvious the things you are grateful for when there's only a couple things in front of you.
Actually, that was my experience when I was that broke, is because it was easier. I thought, oh my gosh, I got this much. I have to take care of this and I'm done. And I can spend the rest of my time being in meditation. I was very meditative, very reflective. I was doing more holistic healing stuff besides the medical interventions. And it was a time in my life that and I hear this from women all the time. I have a podcast that they get to that place that I call it the universe, God, whatever word you want to use, but it'll slam you right down. It'll say, you are doing this. Now you have to sit. You have to sit down and you have
Mhm.
to take stock. And it usually happens in a illness form. Mine happened in a very dramatic ill form, and it allowed me to sit down, not sit all the time, but literally sit down or lay down in a way that I had to be self-reflective about what was happening and be connected to myself and be in the present moment. This is one of the challenges that we have as a society, is that we're in this hustle mode, especially women, because we're in the hustle, hustle, hustle. We don't ever take that moment to be in the present moment. And that is the most important moment that we have. And when we can become aware and conscious, that's when manifestation starts to look the way we feel that we want it to be. not the way that we are doing it on autopilot.
Interesting. And for you, like connecting with meditation, I know you also have an exercise called future journaling. Is that something that you connected with when you were in that space too?
I've been doing future journaling for almost 30 years. It is one of the most powerful things. I call it future journaling. It's just a word that I made up. And yet it is, you can do it. I do it on, people can just talk on your cell phone. There's nobody on here, but it, it imitates us speaking to a friend. I say sometimes do it with a phone because you're using your voice. There's a resonance with our sound and our vibration that way. But I've also done it for the most part in my life just by journaling. And it is journaling the experience or talking out loud the experience as if you're speaking to a friend in your future. Something like I'm talking to somebody. Oh my gosh, I just landed this experience in Italy that this company is paying me $10,000 to fly there first class. And then once I get there, it's $100,000. I'm going to speak to these women and I'm leaving tomorrow. How exciting. Do you want to go with me? So that's in a present tense moment, or I could do it from the reflection of having already been in that speaking experience. I think it's just so fascinating as a hypnotherapist that our minds and our bodies don't know the difference between what we tell it and what's reality. But we
Mhm.
have to do it in present moment. Language is one of the most important things that we don't pay attention to. And I have a whole chapter in the book on that as well. I will do something is nowhere near the power of I am. When we
Mhm.
claim I am, that's a declaration that that's who I am. When we say I'm sad, we're right. I say I'm tired, I'm right. I'm powerful, I'm right.
Mhm.
I am and fill in the blank. It's really interesting to do the future journaling because you begin to create what appears to be a fantasy world, but it's not. It's a direction to the universe that then starts rearranging the entire universe to make it happen, which is
Mhm.
the manifestation piece.
Yes, and I noticed that when you were doing that, you were infusing, even your example, elements of joy and playfulness into your future. Do you find that is a good connection for you to
Oh,
get those emotions?
yeah, because it's all emotion based. Everything that we do, every belief, every download, every consistent practice habit that we've created is started as a feeling. We had these experiences, which I think is fascinating because we had all of our experiences that get downloaded into our body with these chemical signatures between the ages of 1 and 8. Imagine, because we're sorting and filtering, to understand NLP, we're sorting and filtering our entire existence. We are basing it on an experience that we had when we were 2 or 4 or 6 or 8, and then creating a belief around it. And then after the age of 8, we just practice it until we say, oh, that's just a story that I told myself. If it's a story, then I can change it. That's why timeline therapy is so beautiful because we can go back and rewire the programming from where we are today. And it is that emotion that created the experience in the first place. Everyone has a money story, which came from an emotional signature somewhere when we're young. And I use the example of a family. If you're in a family and the electric man comes every month to your house when you're little and they turn it off because your parents just didn't have enough to pay the bill. But what it does is the emotions that get generated in an experience like that is you watch your parents get upset with one another, then you watch your siblings cower in the corner, and you're looking at this whole view of something and downloading an emotion and then a belief that says there's never enough. When we unravel our money stories, we begin to see how our signature, how we've created it, and then we can go and rewrite that story in effect, but we have to do it from emotions as well. We can't stay in that same emotion and rewrite the story. So that's why I bring somatics into it as well. We have to shake off all the energy to start fresh with the new emotion, which is joy and happiness and a surprise and excitement and curiosity.
You are just a wealth of information. You have all of these different pieces coming in, and I'm just curious,
Mhm.
what inspired you, for one, create the book that you created? And how did your path unfold of learning these different modalities? Did one just lead into the other, or did you just get fascinated by it and just go down a bunch of different rabbit holes?
Well, first of all, I'm 70, so I've had
Mhm.
a little time to do some, exploration, which is what that is. I'm a naturally curious person. I think I woke up with, why am I here? How does this thing called human stuff work? And I remember I was 10 years old and my teacher brought this book in called Charlotte's Web. And I was just fascinated by the idea of a web that I could tell. I knew the wheels were already spinning as a young girl, that there was something bigger that was connected. And I don't know, that's just an intuitive download. And I remember when I was in my 20s, there was a metaphysical bookstore. So this is back in the 70s in Hollywood, North Hollywood, California, called the Bodhi Tree. And it opened my eyes in a way that to this day is just continue to stimulate that curiosity, because it was a world of not linear that I had experienced as a child. We went to a Presbyterian church, and this is how we learned that Christianity worked. And I question everything. I have been questioning everything since as long as far back as I can remember. And so it's just been an exploration. I think I call myself a research project. I'm researching me to see how I work. And then I see through science now that that is exactly how our neurobiology works, how we show up in the world, how things come together, how psychology works. It's just been an exploration, really. And it's been
Mhm.
fun because like I said, I'm naturally curious. I don't believe that anybody should spend any time in their life without learning something new every day.
Yeah, I love that. Every time my kids tell me, "Oh, I'm bored," I'm like, "How?
What?
How can you be bored? You just go sit in the corner there and something will come to you."
Yeah.
There's not a chance to be bored in this world that we are in right now with the amount of resources at our fingertips. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being on here today because I think you're just delightful and all of the wealth of information that you embody. If somebody is listening and they're like, I'm at this place and it doesn't quite feel good, where do you suggest they start to shifting gears to embodying the next level of themselves?
Website that has my book. You can get the book, a digital copy, for free. My website is because I am the Debbie Dobbins, thedebbiedobbins.com. And you can get the book there, but there's also some fun freebies, because I never want money to be a barrier to somebody. If I was broke and on food stamps, I would want something that I could start down a path with no charge. And yet, when you start down the path, then you build up your muscle, your money muscle, so that you can then buy things later. Because at this point, I want everybody to know in their bones that they can be, do, or have whatever they want. The only thing that gets in our way is us. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
that's
love
the truth.
that is the truth. And we love the truth around here. What would be your biggest advice for someone to go out and create a life they love?
I would say I get this question quite often, and it seems like I evolve even these days. And one of the things that I'm really keen on right now is people challenging their beliefs.
Mm.
Byron Katie wrote a book. Oh gosh, I'm going to forget the name of it. Anyway, she has these 4 questions. When we have a belief about something, we don't ever question it because the beliefs are keeping us stuck. Is this true? Is our first question. Can you prove it's true? Because we can't. We can't really prove anything is true. And then who would you be if you didn't succumb to that belief anymore? And what would your life be like if you didn't? And those questions in and of themselves are so powerful. And it is just challenging your beliefs. If your belief is money is evil, or money is the root of all evil, challenge the belief. If your belief is I don't have enough, challenge the belief. If your belief is that every time I write a check, it bounces. I mean, there could be so many different money beliefs, but begin to really be aware of your money beliefs and then challenge them. Challenge them and see if you can prove them, because that in and of itself will get your mind in a different state.
Thank you for sharing that. That is a powerful permission slip in a sense, a note that anybody can go do that. So for the
Yeah,
listeners listening that can go out and have that shift today, right now, if they want to.
right
So
now. Yeah.
thank you so much for joining me on the show today, Debbie, and having this conversation.
Yes, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.